So I'll talk about 3 points today. Using an acronym ACT. For the broad topic is science and spirituality. So A is appreciate. That see, each one of us is an individual, and as individuals, we are on a search for understanding. We want to make sense of life so that we live in a constructive, fruitful way. So we can appreciate both science and spirituality if we understand their domains. Science essentially is the study of matter. Spirituality is the study of what matters. Study of what matters. When Parikshit Maharaj is about to die in 7 days, at that time he wants to know what is the most important thing in my life. How can I devote myself to that? So when Arjuna is wanting to know from Krishna what is the right thing to do, he is not rejecting the knowledge of archery that he has learned from Drona. That is material knowledge, the study of matter. It's an important skill. But what am I meant to do? Uchchamitam Hridha Sabbhina. So both of these, study of matter is important in life. But the study of what matters is even more important. Because ultimately somebody may have knowledge of archery, but what are you meant to use it for? So science provides us means. Spirituality provides us meaning. Means and meaning. Means how do I go about doing things? Meaning is what is the point of it all? And we human beings need both means and meaning. So in principle, there doesn't have to be a contradiction between them. We could say science is broadly about the resources that we acquire for getting things done. But this spirituality that tells us the purpose, the meaning, that brings of ultimate value. So now if you consider that we appreciate both domains, and it is not necessary for somebody to be spiritual to reject science, and for somebody to be scientific to reject spirituality. That the fundamental questions in life, science, like we discussed, works on methodological naturalism. Yesterday I mentioned that it looks for natural explanations for natural phenomena. Methodological naturalism means that as a methodology, whenever there is any phenomenon, Newton saw the apple falling, and he wanted to know what is the material cause for it. So if there is an event, now the event is the apple falling. Now this event can have many explanations. So the explanation in terms of material cause effect is what science looks for. Now beyond that, can there be any other explanations? Say for example, we could say that it's God's will. Is that explanation possible? Yeah, that's also possible. But that is not the primary domain of science. So consider, say, the World Cup final match, and India needs 6 runs to win. And say Virat Kohli is batting, they bowl a bouncer, and he swings, hits a hook, and goes for 6. And everybody celebrates. And the post-match interview asks, "How did you hit the sixer?" And Virat Kohli replies, "By Newton's laws of motion." Now, is that the right answer? Well, yes, in one sense we could explain. The ball came at this speed, I swung the bat at this speed, the ball and the bat met at this angle, if they had clicked at the top edge, then it would have got ballooned up into the sky and the fielder would have caught it. So the Newton's laws of motion can explain how the ball went over the boundary. But when we are asking the question, how do you hit the six? What it means is, now how did you anticipate that it's going to bounce? Had you prepared, had you rehearsed or practiced the hook shot? How do you decide how you're going to hit it? So we are looking for, so the same sixer, if you consider, that is hit. That is an event. We could have a mechanical explanation for that. That mechanical explanation is, okay, the ball, I hit the ball with sufficient force, and that's why the Newton's law of motion went across. But we could also have a personal explanation. And the mechanical and the personal explanations can go together. So, science looks at the mechanical explanations, and they are important, no doubt. But reality is complex enough that the mechanical explanations may not be the only explanations. And there could be explanations beyond them also. Unfortunately, over the history of science, if you consider most of the early scientists were theists. Science was also theistic. Initially, now theism means, if you consider the role of God as the creator, as the controller. So theism says, yes, God is the creator, God is the controller. So Newton, Galileo, all of these pioneering scientists, they believed in God. But then as science started getting explanation for more and more things, so the point I'm making now is, where did the contradiction come from? If both of them are two different domains and both of them can coexist, why is there the widespread feeling that there is contradiction? So what is the acronym I'm going to discuss? Appreciate. So appreciate that both of them have their domains. Now we are going to see how they can coexist. C is coexist. So how can we be both? Why is it so difficult for them to coexist now? So over a period of time, science started subscribing, or scientists started subscribing more to a philosophy called deism. Western philosopher in Spinoza was a proponent of that. Even Einstein's God is seen more like Spinoza's God of deism. What is deism? Have you heard this word before? Okay, deism is the idea that God is the creator but not the controller. So if you consider the clock behind over there, there's a wall clock. It is clearly made by someone. It doesn't come by chance. But does the manufacturer have control over the clock now? No, it's our clock. And if we can understand the mechanism of the clock, then maybe we can change the time, we can get to move faster, we can trick someone. We can do what we want with it. It is for us. We just need to understand the mechanism. So this became the idea of science. The universe is like a clockwork. That okay, maybe it is designed by God, but now it is all working only according to laws. So if we just understand the laws, we can control the laws, and we can change how things work. So science moved towards deism. When I say science, that means it is a significant number of scientists. Because science essentially is a tool looking at the world, try to understand how things work. So as of now, if we consider, science looks for mechanical explanation. In that it is very powerful. But now art, is it possible that there can be explanations beyond the mechanical? So initially science said, yeah, there could be other explanations also. And Newton's idea was that, oh Father, I think thy thoughts after thee. That means he thought that the laws of motion or the laws of physics were basically made by God. And now we are understanding through science how God has fashioned the universe. That was how, so that science and spirituality, the divine explanation and the scientific explanation both went together. But then gradually the divine hand started becoming more and more blurred. And then eventually, much of modern science today is atheist. Not much of modern science, then the scientists Many of them think that we have to be atheistic. That God is either the creator nor the controller. What this means is that there is no other explanation apart from the explanation provided by science. So this is where the coexistence becomes difficult when this particular ideology comes in. So actually, the idea that no explanation except what is given by science. Now this is not a theory that science can ever prove. This is technically called as scientism. Scientism is basically a portmanteau, a combination of two words. It's scientific imperialism. Have you heard the word imperialism? It's like the British imperial forces, they ruled India, they ruled colonialism, like that, imperialism. So when science claims that there are no answers except what are offered by scientists, then it becomes scientism. So scientism is not science. Scientism is an ideology that is derived from science, but it is not based on science. So anyway, the point is, I don't want to get too technical over here, but the point is that there is this idea that science and spirituality don't need to work together, they can't work together. This has come because science, instead of looking for natural explanations for natural phenomena, started saying that there are no explanations other than natural. But this is not something science can prove in itself. And then, now science comes up with various theories. Now for many people, the coexistence of science and spirituality becomes a problem when we talk about the origins, the origin of life, origin of the universe, and things like that. But now in origins, this is where some people think that science has displaced spirituality. But this is where it's important to understand that scientific theories, they come by three different methods. One is deductive. Deductive is mostly maths. So for example, 5 plus 11 is 16. That's a mathematical principle. Let's deduce it. But then most of science success comes through inductive method. Inductive method means what? You do n experiments and then you conclude that n plus 1 also will come similarly. So Newton saw an apple falling and he tried to get different objects to fall at different places. Then the same thing happened. And based on that, you conclude that there's a law of gravity. So most of science success, so whether it is physics, whether it is chemistry, whether it is medicine, it comes through this method of, what is the key to this method? It is repeated experiments. We do experiments again and again and we try to discern a pattern. And as I said, here science is for, many scientists have worked extremely hard to try to find out the patterns by which the nature works. However, when it comes to question of origins, science cannot do repeated experiments. Now, we cannot tell the universe, please create yourself again so that I can observe you. We cannot say, oh, life emerged right now, then I can see how you emerge. So on the question of origins, science uses another method, which is called the abductive method. And what is this abductive method? It is basically like you heard this one, who done it? Like a mystery novel. That there was this owner of the house, the maid gave him food at 9 p.m. at night, and when she came back at 7 a.m. in the morning, there was a knife in his chest and he was dead. So who murdered him? You cannot tell the murderer, please come back and commit the crime again so that we can catch you on camera. What you do is, here, it's like a whodunit mystery. So what is the way to resolve it? They call it the IBE. It's an inference to the best explanation. Inference to the best explanation. So we may say, okay, who are there in the house? Okay, there's this young boy who's 5-year-old. No, he can't put the knife, not strong enough. There's the old lady who is 70 years old. She can't have done it. There's the butler. The butler is 25, he's strong enough. And then we concluded the butler committed the crime. It could be true, it may not be true. Now maybe if they investigate, they find that in the room there's a secret trap door, and the murderer came to the trap door, killed, and then went back to the trap door. So the point is, when we make inference to best explanation, that is never as reliable as the knowledge that is got through inductive experimentation. So when scientists try to infer, okay, how did this particular species came about? How did this life originate? How did the universe originate? How did human beings originate? In general, these, especially when science goes into the domain of history, it has to use this abductive reasoning. And abductive reasoning, it is highly speculative. It's highly questionable. So here what is happening, this might seem a little technical, but the key point I'm going to make over here and conclude this, is that, so suppose somebody is a very good stock investor, and wherever they tell us to invest money, we invest our money and we make a lot of money. And tomorrow, say today we find out that we got cancer. And they say, you should take this naturopathic treatment. Now, can we take their authority on it? Well, it can be really a suggestion. But just because they are expert in stock investment does not make them expert in medical advice. These are two different departments. So what happens is, when we use the word science, or when we are taught the word science, it's almost as if this deductive, inductive, and abductive, whatever comes out of it, it's all called a science. So the Big Bang theory is called a science, the theory of evolution is called science. But the credibility of science is coming from, credibility means its strength, its stature, its authority. It's coming from, say, the laws which are of physics, chemistry, which have come from the inductive method through repeated experiments. And what happens is, we think, okay, this is what scientists have said, and the science works so well. I dial a number, and I can call anybody in any part of the world. It works so well. So how can somebody who's so brilliant as to have made a cell phone, which works so well, how can they make wrong theories? When that question itself is based on a wrong presumption. Not all theories of science have the same level of credibility, because not all theories have come by the same method. So that's why the questions about origins, they need to be treated with a pinch of salt. Whenever scientists come up with theories of origins, the theory of evolution can not be considered to be as credible as, say, Newton's laws of motion. Because Newton's laws of motion have been repeatedly tested, observed, experimented with. The theory of evolution, very little of it, I'm not saying nothing of it, but very theory of evolution, or for that matter, I'm not saying theory of evolution has to be rejected, but I'm simply saying over here this point that it has come from the adaptive method. The Big Bang theory or any other theory of universal origins, it has come from adaptive reasoning. And that's why, if we question that, it's not that we are rejecting science. We can still accept the authority of science. It's like in medical science. There might be one medicine which has worked very well and is time-honored, which is time-tested. And another is a new experimental medicine. We tried on a few people. I don't want to take an experimental medicine. I don't want to be a guinea pig. That's perfectly reasonable. I'm not rejecting medical science. It's just that the two are different degrees of authority. So if you understand this, we can accept science in terms of what is found in the inductive method. But what science has proposed based on the abductive method, especially about history and origins, that is something which is worth being at least skeptical about. So how can the two coexist? That means the two can coexist. That's what we're discussing. So if science and spirituality seem to go in opposite directions, then it is possible that the scientific explanation is incorrect. It is possible that the scientific explanation is incomplete. It is possible that the two are in different scales of observation. They are talking from different perspectives entirely. So, what do I mean by different perspectives? It's just that things can be, when we see them from different perspectives, we come up with different ideas. Okay, like if I take chalk, what is the color of chalk? White. If we take coal, what is the color? Black. Grey, or you can say coke or black. Let's say, so it's blackish, relatively speaking. This is white. Now, if we powder both of them, if we mix their powders, we'll get some color of grey. Is it true? So now, when we get something of a grey color, if we observe it under the microscope, what will happen? You won't see anything grey. You'll see white powder and black powder. Black powder, using black granules. But at our scale of observation, they see it wrong. So many of the things that are described in scripture are not necessarily described from a human scale of observation. They are described from a different scale of observation. So the point is that if something seems contradictory, there's no need to make a big hue and cry about it. But science could be true at a particular level, spirituality could be true at another level. So this is where cosmology in the fifth canto works. Now the last part, if there are some questions, we'll be discussing this. Now the last part is that, and acronym T is transform. So that transform means what? That science has these two aspects to it, theory and experiment. Similarly, spirituality has two aspects to it. There is philosophy and practice. The philosophy aspect of science is like the philosophy aspect of spirituality, the theory aspect of science. And the practice aspect is like the experiment. And science can make things better. Science can make things better. That means we had a hand fan, now we have a wall fan, now we have air conditioning. Science can make things better. Now, spirituality can make thoughts better. Thoughts better means that internally we can become purified. Our thoughts can become healthier, they can become happier. So with all our scientific advancements, suppose somebody has got anger. Can you just say, okay, if you're angry, just take this pill and anger goes away? It doesn't go like that. You can take a pill and put an angry person to sleep, but their anger doesn't go away. So, science can make our outer world better, spirituality can make our inner world better. So, rather than thinking that, do science and spirituality contradict? We focus on the transformation that spirituality can offer us. And the world needs this transformation. Why? Because internally things are becoming worse. And mental health problems are becoming huge. In India also, in the Western world also. Why? Because we need to improve our thoughts that we have. Now, thoughts can not only hurt us, but thoughts can kill us. Suicide is basically what? A thought ending up killing a person. So we need to improve our thoughts. And across the world, even big tech companies. I was just in America for 2.5, 3 months. So this time I spoke at Salesforce, I spoke at Intel, I spoke at Google. And these are not companies inviting us because they are interested in Krishna. No, but they are interested in their bottom line. They find that if their employees learn some meditation, learn some mantra chanting, learn some spiritual practices, then they are calm. When they function better, their mental health issues go down. So, what happens is spirituality, with respect to spirituality, the philosophical aspect, we can keep debating about it. Is it right, it is wrong? But the practice aspect, it is actually empirical. Empirical means we can actually experience the transformation. And it's not just we in terms of, say, you can say, my anger has decreased, increased. But even mainstream research, there are many papers available online about how if you do brain imaging, then when a person is meditating, their brain wiring becomes much healthier. Basically, when a person is addicted, their brain gets wired in a particular way. But if a person meditates regularly, their brain wiring changes. So there are many books written on this topic. But the point over here is that this empirical aspect is being felt by thousands and millions of people all over the world. Yesterday was the World Yoga Day. Now, it's not that people are practicing yoga just because it's a fashion. They are getting some benefit out of it. And it's not just physical benefit coming from posture, they are getting that. It's also getting mental benefit. They are finding some calming effect on it. And that's why they are exploring more. So, we can ourselves benefit from the transformative potential of spirituality. And we can see that our own thoughts can become better. And science will progress in its own way and make some things better. But if we individuals can make our thoughts better, and the combination of making the thoughts better internally and the things better externally, that combination can help us make the world better. So I'll summarize. I discussed about today about the science spirituality relationship. And I talked about 3 points. First A was what? Appreciate. So we appreciate that both have their domains. So what is science domain? It's the study of matter. And spirituality is what matters. So what is how important? That's what the Gita and the Bhagavad-gita are focusing. And this means that science, for any event, science offers an explanation. That's a mechanical explanation. And spirituality offers a non-mechanical, a personal explanation. We discussed the example of a sixer being hit. So that we look for something beyond the mathematical explanations, and there is validity for them. Now when we talk about C was coexist. So now how can they coexist? We look at the history of science, it's like scientific overconfidence. What is the overconfidence? That God is from theism to deism to atheism. The overconfidence is that there is no explanation beyond the scientific explanation. And then science started offering explanation for, so scientific explanation for origins also. Now we discussed this comes from the abductive reasoning. And the abductive is highly speculative. So scientific theories that come from the inductive or the deductive method, they are credible in their own ways. But those which come from the deductive method, it's worth exploring whether they are as credible or not. So we don't have to necessarily fixate on them. And if there is some contradiction, we discussed that it could be that when there is a contradiction, it could be that some science is, the current theory is incorrect, the current understanding is incomplete, or it could be that in different scales of observation. And last T was transform. So spirituality is just like a science. It is philosophy and practice. And what the practice does is that it transforms our thoughts. It elevates our thought. And there is empirical validation of this in terms of both the widespread popularity of spiritual practices in modern times, as well as the study of neuroscience. So we focus on, we use science when it is required to make things better, and we focus on spirituality to make our thoughts better. And if things and thoughts both are improved, then we can actually make the world better. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.